which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Almost forgot the words. Could I have a roll call, please?
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan,
Here.
Hayward,
Here.
Hill,
Yes.
Sharp,
Here.
Kurt,
Here.
O'Loughlin,
Here.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
moved.
Second.
Motion by Callahan, second by O'Loughlin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Did anybody sign in?
No.
No? So we have nobody for public comment. So. I will ask for a motion to accept and approve the consent agenda that approves the following: minutes of the February 10th, 2020 regular meeting, bank reconciliation for the month of January, budgeted transfers, Independence Motor Speedway Class B beer, outdoor service, and Sunday sales liquor license for February 21st, 2020 through February 20th, 2021.
Correction, the February 24th meetings are what's attached.
So move. Second.
Instead of February 10th, it's February 24th?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Moved by Scharf, seconded by Kurtz, correct? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Then I need a motion to approve our claims for payment.
So moved.
Motion by Callahan,
Second.
second by Hill. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Petitions from the public. Is there anybody here from the Pony Express? I don't see anybody. So how do, they have to fill in the blank. Motion to approve.
This is all the
This is
same as the past.
Same as we've done
I'll
every
make
year.
motion.
Okay? Motion. You want to state your motion since it's not on the agenda?
That's a
Motion to,
motion to approve the Pony Express request to hold their fundraiser.
okay? Motion by Hill, second by O'Loughlin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, you want a roll call?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, roll call.
Callahan,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Kurt,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Thank you, motion carried. Next on the agenda is the downtown committee request, and I believe we have a couple of people here to speak to us about this.
Kind of short.
Give us
Nikki
your
Barth.
name and address.
Nikki Barth, 1112 First Street East.
You need to speak up a little.
Still? Nobody tells me that. Nikki Barth, 1112 First Street East at the
Thank
Chamber.
you.
George Lake with Buchanan County Economic Development. I don't have a soft voice.
So what we're here for tonight is for you to take into consideration of support for the completion of a downtown revitalization assessment. A couple months ago, we had met with MSA Consulting out of Dubuque. They were a company that was at the downtown conference last year in Dubuque, and for a downtown revitalization plan. The cost of the study is $21,500, and we are pursuing a grant from Mid-American Energy for $5,000. We spoke with a lady from Mid-American Energy about 4 weeks ago, and she encouraged us to apply for this grant as part of funding. So, and part of the impact of the downtown revitalization assessment is it's going to provide us the data needed to position Independence to successfully pursue several state of Iowa programs.
Yeah, as many of you know, part of my background and experience, I spent 7 years with the city of Marion doing economic development for them. And we initiated a similar program to this, doing a downtown assessment. And that positioned us, once we got the assessment done, that positioned us very well to pursue other things. After we got the downtown assessment completed, we submitted and were accepted as a Main Street community. Other things that we did as well is we pursued Community Development Block Grant facade program. Once again, the downtown assessment provided the information that we need to position us well to pursue that. And certainly other things, we're doing a catalyst grant. Al and I are working on that right now. We will be submitting that next week. The downtown assessment would just provide a stronger background for that as well. And so this program really is, it's a game changer in many ways, because it allows us to get the information put together in a very scientific approach so that we can present it to various entities. There are some other programs that Nikki's going to talk about.
One of the things that we've been talking about, even since I was started being part of downtown about 2015, is making the downtown area a historic preservation district. And when we talked with MSA, they told us it would actually, with their scope, and that could run parallel together and probably be very good for us in order to get that established also. And the Iowa Great Places Grant is another program that we could also pursue. It gives us additional grant opportunities. Once we actually have to be designated as an Iowa Great Place, but it does focus on a lot of cultural things, artistic, recreational projects, things that we might not otherwise see funding for, so.
And I guess the final bone that I'm going to throw to you guys is that for any entity in the city that's pursuing grants, whether it's the library, the schools, or other nonprofits, you have to present information, background information on your community to provide a basis as to why you need this grant, or even more so, how this grant will be used to impact whatever program they're looking for. And so I would just encourage you to consider pursuing this. The spin-offs are really pretty great in terms of positioning us to pursue things in the future.
Have any of the communities around us done this? Have any of the communities around us done this type of study?
Well, we know Dyersville has done it. I mean, they're not right with us, but Dyersville has done it. We actually met with one of the city council people from Dyersville shortly after we went to the downtown conference last year, and he kind of gave us an idea of what they used and who they used for, and showed us some of their ideas also.
And Manchester did this a number of years ago, and after Manchester got that, that's when they proceeded with the facade program, because once again, the downtown assessment positioned them very well to get the catalyst, or excuse me, to get the facade program.
And when George and Lisa went around a couple of years ago for the CBDG grant, 28 of the building owners, representing 45 of them downtown, were in favor and willing to pursue it if it was something that we would be able to get here in Independence.
Are they ones that we can block together?
Pardon?
Are they ones that we can block together to get the,
Well, with that, there are X number of dollars that with the facade grant, it's a $500,000 grant from the state. The city would be expected to provide $250,000, and then the building owners themselves would be expected to provide $250,000. So after the if you want to call it a historic review or architectural review, it may be, maybe 12 buildings that would fall into that. There could be 20. It all depends on how far the monies would go. Some buildings may need $20,000 worth of work. Another building may need, $100,000.
I know what you're talking about when they told us at the conference last summer how they like to have them in like blocks of 6 or 8 together. Yes, there were.
Right.
There were blocks of those together.
Yeah, and they do, and you're right, Deb, they want the project to be put together because it's not going to show a tremendous impact if you have, 12 different buildings scattered throughout the whole downtown district. And so that's something that ultimately the city council will decide on which area focus on Main Street the program should go.
When
Good
they-
question, Deb.
When they do this study, do they not include the community and have surveys and get input from the community, the citizens?
Yes.
Yes, that is.
In
part
doing
of-
this?
That's part of their scope. They do a few different types. They want a committee that is, city council, downtown interest, community interest, and then they do what they call pop-ups. So say July 1st is when they start. They might come to our 4th of July parade or even the 4th of July celebration and do a pop-up and get opinions from the.
Interview
from the public.
people and
Yep.
stuff like
Mhm.
that.
They will interview
Okay.
downtown stakeholders, all of that kind of stuff.
So the citizens themselves will have some input into this if they would like to
Yes.
and such,
Yep.
be
Yep,
involved.
they will have meetings, kind of like when we had the meeting over at River's Edge.
Yeah.
Where the community was invited. Mhm.
Okay.
Now, Nikki, they encourage you to apply for a grant, is that a lot? Because I'm asking you is, if you don't get that grant, what's your other resource to make up the difference in the money?
So, my understanding, and I was on the call, Benita, Al, and George, we were all on the call with the lady from Mid-America, and she was, basically said, we haven't given any money to the independence community for quite some time, and pretty much you're kind of due for some money, and she highly encouraged us to get the application submitted, so.
Just as a backup plan.
Yes, I know what you're saying,
I just-
absolutely.
I know where
yep.
that's, I've heard that before.
Yep.
They
so-
did not give us a, hey, you have the money. They alluded to the fact that it was a high probability, but we can't tell you that it's been awarded because it has to go through their process.
Okay, so are we okay on this on the contingency? That this is what we're gonna give them, we're not gonna come back and say, hey, we need 5 or 6 more thousand, is what I'm asking you.
Well, I wish I could give you a better answer than that, Carl, because, right now, we're going with the information that they've given us.
I understand. But we've all been there.
You, of course, as a council, have the ability to authorize up to 21,500, which is the cost of the study, which would cover it. But again, the 16.5 that's asked for here is what is anticipated, based on the information that we have today.
Well, that should give this agency the information that we're giving a try.
Right.
Really trying hard,
Yep.
is what
Well-
I'm saying.
I agree, and I believe enough in the conversation that we had that I believe the 16.5 is sufficient. But again, I want to be clear that I can't give you an absolute without their award letter.
Okay.
Where
got
do
it.
we stand as far as budgetary concern?
This is proposed to come out of our TIF fund balance, so it would be an eligible expense. We want to make sure that we follow all the hoops that we go through there, which we're checking with Dorsey and Whitney, John Danis, to make sure of that. But there is money in our TIF fund balance that would cover this portion.
Now, will the economic development and the chamber be co-players in this 16,005?
Are you asking if we're donating any money to the
Yeah.
16.5? No, I'm donating my grant writing skills. The $5,000 grant, that request can only come from an economic development corporation. And so I've got everything written. Nikki is checking over to make sure that I didn't make any major grammatical errors or leave something out. So I'm donating $5,000 by writing the grant. How does that sound?
And the chamber?
The chamber is not donating any money per se, but we would have a lot of time invested in it, being right down there in the middle with the downtown, with, the retailers who are underneath, have umbrellaed underneath us, so I think we would probably really be a lead in it.
And certainly as a follow-up, once we get the downtown assessment completed, the chamber is the driving force behind the Main Street program.
Yes.
They would be the ones that would initiate, and certainly economic development would assist in that as well. But for the downtown, for the Main Street program, the Great Places programs, those are really chamber-driven activities.
No, we're not pursuing the Main Street, Iowa.
Not at this time, we are not. No, this is just kind of something to help us go along with those. Now, we will be doing the Historic Preservation District, because they did tell us at MSA that, those couldn't run parallel together, so. which would be good for some, well, what do I want to say it, some, kind of how we're going to do the how we would like to see the downtown done through the facade. So the Preservation District kind of sets those standards also.
I think,
Helps to set standards.
I think the most important piece is this opens up the door for the CDBG facade improvement program, the $500,000 federal money, if we wanted to go down that road. That's we have to have these in place before we can start that. And I think it opens up that door first. And then if we decide we want to, we can. If we decide we don't want to go down that road, that's a decision later. But this would be the way to start that.
But that covers the architectural and engineering that we had to have before.
We have to have a plan in place, and this would give us that plan in place, as I understand it, to do that. That's the way Dyersville has proposed it, that's the way Manchester did it. So as opposed to going and hiring an architect to do this, this study would give us that downtown plan.
Where's MSA out of?
Dubuque.
Dubuque? Is that a private business?
Engineering firm.
It's an engineering firm, yeah.
Okay. And they've told us that 21,000 will cover everything?
That was in their proposal, yes, 21.5 would cover the 7 months' worth of work that they would do for us.
Okay.
When do they expect it to be completed, the assessment?
Within 7 months of the start date.
Okay.
So obviously, if this is fiscal year 2021, then it, probably wouldn't start until July 1st, after, so,
Okay.
yes.
How's this different than the $30,000 study that was done when Jenny Yoder and Mike McGill asked for the money?
I don't know what study that is, so I can't.
I tell you, it was something similar, because I remember what you said about the blocks, and it had to be within 6 or 8. So there was something done before,
Visioning program.
but the city sponsored it.
Well, the city
That's-
branding was not the downtown, they are not the same project at all.
This wasn't branding. This was way back, long before
Oh,
you were
okay.
around.
Okay, that's the only one I can go
Yeah, no,
back
no,
to.
no, long
Okay.
before you were here, Al. It was a long, long time ago, maybe 12, 13, or whatever it was. But they come the same, Bob, they come, and they were, just what you'd said, they were looking at certain parts of the area, and they said, well, we can't go here and go over here, just what George was saying too. They had to be in a certain area, and at the time, people they talked to, one would go and the other one wouldn't. And that's when, back then, I'd want to make sure they're all on board, all of them, because you don't know where they're gonna pick or whatever, but it was done. It was a long time before you were here, Al.
Right, okay, yeah, I'm not familiar with that one, I
Is that
apologize.
back when they were looking at the Main Street?
And if it was a while ago,
Yeah.
if it was a while ago, I mean,
It was a while ago.
yeah, then it probably would not pertain for, if we're pursuing the community block grant program or the Main Street programs. Studies have to be done within a certain period of time.
Because they tried the Main Street program.
Yeah,
Two or
I
three
think they
times.
told us 10 years is what I think that they told us. And any information that we had from previous things that had been done, because Iowa State University came at one time and did some stuff way back, I shouldn't say way back, like in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Living Roadways was done. So we did send a lot of that information to MSA, things that we thought, would be applicable in this new scope, that were things that looked like, could be used also.
Would information from this be helpful, for example, like the fellow, if others were to do like the fellow's doing at Hardig Drug with the apartments, would this give somebody information where this guy has done this before, others new to it, would this help them do those kinds of projects?
I think it would help them. I think the biggest issue is it'll raise the comfort level of somebody else getting involved in trying to do a project downtown, to see that there's a master plan that can be followed. I don't think it plays into it as directly as what it would the facade, the CDBG facade program. And this does identify in the scope of services, the necessary resources to apply for funding assistance for downtown improvements identified in the plan over the next 10 years. So it's got a 10-year horizon that they're looking at, and I think that speaks to what you were referencing.
Right.
I'd make a motion, we honor their request for the 16.5.
A second.
Got a motion from Hayward.
Not to
Who did I hear
exceed
second?
16.5.
I think Deb second, did you?
Deb, was you the one that seconded? Okay. Motion from Hayward, second from Hannah, to approve the $16,500 TIF funding for the downtown revitalization plan. Do you need a roll call? Okay.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Shire,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Thanks, guys, for presenting that. Next is a public hearing in regards to the speed camera ordinance. I need a motion to receive and file proof of publication of notice for the public hearing.
No move.
Motion by Scharf.
Second.
Second by Callahan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. I now need a motion to hold the public hearing.
No move.
Motion by Scharf.
Second.
Second by Callahan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. We are now in public hearing in regards to the ordinance for the speed camera. You have something to share with us,
Just
Dustin?
if you guys have any questions on the ordinance, I know that the last time we discussed in 7105 is removing a section in there, just to remind everybody on that.
Weren't there a couple of
There was a-
minor adjustments?
Yeah, the
we were
red
gonna
light
make?
camera thing wasn't supposed to be in there.
This is the ordinance as it was originally published. We'll want to make sure that anything you want to modify is amended before your first reading. But there was a question about the red light cameras, whether or not you want to leave them in the ordinance or address them at a future date, should we ever decide to do that. And the second issue was, that would be in 7101 on the red lights.
Yep.
71.05 has to do with who reviews the
That was no-
citations, and the council had expressed an interest in it being a sworn city police officer, and eliminating the other options that were listed in that last sentence of 71.05.
Was that, you said we needed to amend it when we made the motion?
Right,
Okay,
correct.
that's what I thought.
And those were the only two issues that were brought up as questions in the committee of the whole, unless there was other concerns raised, that would
We've
be
got the cameras out at the Waste Management in here too, right?
That's
No,
later.
that's a different one.
That-
That's another public hearing later in the agenda.
This is, this is specific to the speed
Speed
cameras.
cameras,
So it's the school area and the car.
correct.
I guess I'd make the motion that we approve this.
We're still in public hearing. Sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry. Slow down. Is there any other comments? Or is there any comments from anybody in the audience? And you didn't receive any notices of any kind? Okay. If there's no other comments, I would ask for a motion to close the hearing and receive and file oral and written comments.
So moved.
Motion by Callahan, second by O'Loughlin. Do you need a roll call? No? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion is carried. Now, Bob.
I make the motion to approve this with eliminating the sections on the red light camera, and then also limiting the review of it to only a certified police officer,
Is it okay if we say sworn police officer?
sworn police officer.
I second it.
Okay, motion by Hill, second by Scharf with the two amendments. Roll call, please.
Hill,
Yes.
Shire,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
I'm against the car with sitting around town, so no.
Callahan,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Thank you, motion is carried. Next on the agenda. is another public hearing. In regards to the speed camera fine ordinance, I need a motion to receive and file proof of publication of motion for public hearing.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Scharf, second by O'Loughlin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion is carried. Next, I need a motion to hold the public hearing.
So move.
Motion by Scharf, second by O'Loughlin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. We are now in public hearing in regards to the ordinance for the speed camera fines.
Under this particular ordinance, going back to comments that were made, 70.02, under speeding violation, the 6 to 10 per hour over the posted speed limit should be removed. Line 2 should say 10 to 15 versus the 11 to 15. And then, based on your first reading of the previous ordinance, the stop line and red light violation should be removed. And my recommendation would be to amend this ordinance to reflect that as well. Unless there's other topics. Let me go one further. The other question was where,
Were we talking also the 6 to 10 in the school zone, or just the 6 to 10 above?
just the one above that, the school zone we had left alone.
Okay, that's what I thought we,
And we should, there's also an amendment to place this fine schedule. If you read subsection 2, it references section 1.15 of this code of ordinances. That's the fine and fee schedule for the city in our code book.
Oh, good.
So that would identify it as being placed there. There's reasons that 70.02 is written the way it is, but this does put the fee schedule into the section with the rest of the fines and fees.
Now, just to clarify this for the public, when school is not in session, even if they're speeding, they would not have the higher level of fines.
That's correct. The school violation is when the school speed zone is in effect, that hour in the morning, hour in the afternoon. We are not asking or encouraging in any way for speeding to take place, but that fee schedule, as I understand it, in the school zone is when the lights are on in the school zone.
Yes.
So a vehicle on First Street, when the school zone is not in effect, could technically be going 40 miles an hour and not get a ticket.
Under this,
Yes, under this, yes.
now, a police officer traveling on First Street at the same time could pull them over and write them a citation under the Iowa code, traffic code, which would then go on their license, whereas these do not. But we're talking about the enforcement of the speed cameras only. And I want to make that clear. It is not permission to speed, because our officers still have the right to write those tickets.
but if you're out on First Street West, in the school zone, that camera is going to be running 24 hours, isn't it? And then we, instead of the 6 to 10, 75, you would just go by the speeding 11 or 10 to 15, wouldn't that camera's not going to shut off just because the lights aren't flashing up.
It would be on 24 hours a day. The only time the change in the fines and stuff is when it's in school session or when not. So,
And everything's time and date stamped on the
correct.
video.
And so then if we used the portable one, that would always be the 10 to 15 starting.
Correct.
So you'd have 9 miles over the speed limit to your benefit.
That again is with the camera. If the police officer's out there, you're
Then-
going with the
yeah.
state code by then.
Yes.
And it could be less. So,
based on the way that we've discussed and how you guys want to do it, that's how that would run.
Okay.
Are you happy with that then?
I'm happy with putting it up in the school zone by all means. Just for informational purposes, because I knew this was coming up last week, I sat in the school zone, when the school zone thing, trying to radar as many as I could. And the school lights were on, so it's 20 miles an hour is what the speed limit is. I radared the first 100 cars I got. 20 of them were going 20 to 25, 47 were going 46 to 30, 33 were going 31 to 35 or more in that school zone.
When the lights were flashing, they were
Correct.
going that fast?
Yes.
Whoa.
And I will almost bet you that it would have more in the higher ranges, but in that 20 to 25, that first car slowed the next 4 down. Because I had 4 or 5 right in a row, and they were crowded up next to each other. So having this in the school zone, I am happy with, so.
And with these cameras, it would get every one of those plates of every one of those that were going over that during that time.
My understanding, yes.
So you might not want to do that. Definitely is not permission to speed.
Correct.
Anybody in the audience that wants to speak to this particular during our hearing time, open hearing? Step forward and give us your name and address, please. Speak into the mic. Yeah.
Fred Miller, 48 10th Street Northeast. Kind of a question for Dustin. The revenue from these cameras will go where? General fund?
The revenue goes to the city general fund, that's correct.
I see. Is there any programs that you have out at the high school informing the kids to this new procedure and fines and what happens if they get caught at that type of speed? Do you have any
Right.
programs out there that you?
Make sure you get next to the mic so you can give your answer.
There's not a program that's set up at the school, but the first month that these are in place are all warnings written. So anybody that goes through at the time is going to get a warning for that case. I also am planning on talking to the school once everybody's in session and the driver's ed instructors, okay, this is where this is at, this is what we're doing, and so that they understand and get informed the kids of what's going on.
Now, I understand you'll be taking over the DARE program. Could you kind of bring this all together and make it an informative program for the students so they know?
That's another topic. I'd like to see a school resource officer eventually down the road is what I'm hoping to end up to, but yeah, we are taking over the DARE program at the school.
Okay.
Is that
very good.
after the sheriff is retired?
Bill stopped doing DARE at our school here this last year, and I have an officer wanting to do it now, so that's something I'll discuss at the end.
We haven't been doing it for the past year?
They have a different program in place right now.
Okay.
Okay, great, thank you.
The other clarification is if a police officer pulls somebody over and they write a state ticket, that doesn't stay with us though, does it? Does that go to the state, that
No, if
money?
an officer stops somebody and cites them for speeding, it'll go under the state code, under the state fines. It'll go on their driving record. It'd be different from what this is. This is all just a civil penalty that gets mailed to you is what this is.
And so that money does not stay here into our general fund? That goes to the state because it's a state ticket?
Correct.
Okay.
And for clarification, when we say that the money goes into the general fund, that's a standard pool that all of the money goes into. It isn't that we're balancing our budget with this. When the money's received, it's received into the general fund per the state code. So that's where most of the money coming into the city would go to. And I want to answer the question about programs and letting people know. We have speed limit signs all over town telling people how fast they can drive virtually everywhere in town. So, yes, I appreciate the fact that we should be telling people about what we're doing and it's not a secret. But driving the speed limit is very well known. So,
We get, what, 62% of that money?
yes.
Where do, like Cedar Rapids, those places, will they be like on the 4 entrances to town that they'll be put on notice that we do have a speed camera? Or where do those get put?
From speaking with Dorian, yeah, the main entrances into the city is where the signs would be posted at. I know in Cedar Rapids, it's shortly before the ones that are actually on the interstate. But in Waterloo, they're posted around different areas. But Waterloo also has the mobile one, but there's signs that are posted covering the entrances into town. We'll cover all of that, he said.
Will they talk about the fact we have a mobile one? So that they're not just looking for something on a post?
No, it just identifies the fact that we do photo enforce speed limits.
Correct.
So when those towns end up in lawsuits, is it the company that's providing these cameras that forks over the money for the lawsuits, or is it the city?
Well, the company is the one that goes to bat for the city, and they have attorneys and stuff to go to court for them. So, because they stand behind it, because if they would lose in court, then nobody's gonna ever wanna put one of these in the community. So.
Any other questions, comments? Then I would ask for a motion to close the hearing and receive and file oral and written comments.
So moved.
Motion by Scharf,
Second.
second by Callahan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. We are out of public hearing. Anyone to make a motion in regards to this ordinance?
I'll make the motion with the amendments that the general speeding violation changes, we take the 6 to 10 out and change the next level 10 to 15. And we also take out the stoplight and red light violation fine section.
Second it.
Okay, motion by Hale, second by Kurtz. What he said? If you want it repeated, Gina would be glad to repeat it again, but not really. Roll call.
Shar,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
No.
Callahan,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hale.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Next on the agenda is another hearing in regards to illegal dumping ordinance. I need a motion to receive and file proof of publication of notice of public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Scharf,
Second.
second by Callahan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Then I need a motion to hold the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Callahan.
Second.
Second by Scharf. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. We are now in public hearing in regards to the ordinance about illegal dumping.
The first item I want to bring your attention to in my write-up, I did put in here that this is targeting the recycling center and the tree dump specifically, but it does cover the entire city. Those are the only two places in the city that would be, that would fall under this, so I don't want to mislead you. It is specific to the recycling center and the brush dump that this ordinance would pertain to for this illegal dumping, because we don't have any place else dedicated to that type of a use. There are two drafts of the ordinance here. I want to be, I did not want to confuse you. The first one is in there because that's what you had reviewed at the committee of the whole. Questions that were brought up. The city attorney reviewed it and really did a makeover of it, so it is significantly different than the one that we had discussed at the committee of the whole, and I think much clearer, much easier to understand. So everybody's on the same page. The revised draft is what we would strongly recommend as far as the versions go. And again, takes a lot of the confusion out of the language and what we're trying to do and say with that.
I don't think we should have the recycling center in here because we haven't even approved any of that. The cameras.
We approved the cameras.
The cameras were approved at the last meeting.
They've been approved for us to pay to put them up there?
Yeah.
And your first, your facilities, it has 6th Avenue Southeast.
Southwest.
Okay.
That needs to be-
Does it say in here, we had discussion about definition of the difference between recycling and garbage? Remember that was brought up, what do we define? I just was,
I was looking at that too. It says biodegradable landscape
Yeah.
waste. It doesn't say anything about, I was afraid it was gonna say something about garbage, but I think,
No, yeah, that was
I think
pulled
we
out.
should be good.
okay. Oh, I see.
I was very careful with the terminology because something that was obvious to me. Al shared your concerns with me about the previous draft. I shared those concerns. I spent a good amount of time working this over in a manner I thought you would like. You're not going to see any of that reflected on your bill because I wasn't satisfied with the product that initially went out. There was some imprecise terminology in the first version with solid waste that I think you all noticed because solid waste, obviously, the definition in the chapter excludes recyclables, made for a confusing provision. I think we took care about that, and basically, recycling is basically defined to an extent as what is posted at the facility as being recyclable. So it's a definition that revolves around the materials that are designated at that site via posted materials for recycling. So it's fluid to an extent that way. If they take, oh gosh, they stop taking glass. You don't need to redo your ordinance. If you deposit glass there and it's on a big sign there, it's a prohibited material, there's no bin for glass, that's not a recyclable material under the ordinance.
Sounds good.
So they're gonna be allowed to take everything up there, it's not gonna just be cardboard?
Anything that they accept up there, if they accept plastic or glass, that is going to be suitable. Cardboard is the one that everybody talks about, that's the biggest volume, but they do take glass and plastics up there as well, but not in the same bins, not in the same containers. And I think that's the important part, is following the signage that's up there, and that's where I think this one is much clearer in its ordinance.
Does this deal with anything about the fact that the fence will be, or the gate will be closed on certain hours and that type of thing, or does that even have to be addressed in the ordinance?
That doesn't have to be in here, that would be an operation of Waste Management operating the recycling center, and that's,
And it'll be posted there for what their open hours are, and that type
That's
of
their
stuff?
deal.
right.
Okay.
I hope citizens understand now that first penalty is $100 for putting things up there that are not supposed to be there, and everything after that's gonna be $250 fine, so, and the cameras will be able to read license plate numbers.
Correct.
So, pretty hefty fine for putting stuff where you're not supposed to.
And we were careful to include that, the fact that the inclusion of that civil penalty doesn't preclude the city, and it shouldn't be read as precluding the county, with respect to the waste management site, from pursuing individuals civilly for cleanup cost. If someone goes out there and puts a dump truck of something out there, and the city's gotta pay to get that, or landscape, say there's a bunch of old furniture and stuff, city has to take that to the dump, they have to, pay a fee, you have employee time, that's something you could pursue against folks individually for even a bigger deterrent.
And I think maybe more notable would be people who are dumping illegally in those bins. If it destroys or precludes them from using that entire bin for recycling, and it has to go to waste, there's a pretty significant cost to that for the county. That's part of how we've gotten to this point. So that would also fall under that illegal dumping that could be civilly brought back against them individually.
Did you
Does it-
find out about the dumping ashes at the tree dump?
I do not have anything that speaks specifically to ashes.
But this ordinance does include the tree dump also for
Brush.
brush, okay.
Right, so when there's a definitive answer as to ashes, you would include those in your prominently posted rules and regulations for the site. For example, ash isn't to be deposited there. Big bold letters, no ash. And then it tracks back to our ordinance and is something that we can enforce.
There probably just no hot ashes. Doesn't hurt to put ashes out there, does it?
Depends on what they're burning.
I use ashes in my garden. I just don't, in my compost.
Just see people take ashes out there from fireplaces.
Sets that pile on fire, it's 8 to 10 grand coming out of our pocket. Just saying.
Well, if you start a fire, you're gonna be on camera, so,
Wave.
yeah, you'll get caught. If you dump hot ash that caught you on fire, a fire is a fine.
I'm thinking there might be ways to disguise your license plate.
Don't give any ideas.
I didn't say a word.
You're watching too much TV.
Yeah.
Well, every once in a
all
while,
I
because of the heat or whatever, that starts its own fire anyway out there.
Was there anybody in the audience that wanted to address this particular item, and since we're in public hearing? Nope?
So up at the county, the city residents can use that now?
Yes,
Legally? like they
Yes.
Couldn't before?
Recycling?
Yeah, that was just county up there.
I have
People in the-
concerns about the bin.
Town
I
was
think it's
supposed to
gonna be
use it.
too easy for them to put sacks in there with contaminants.
well, putting a sack in there by itself would be an illegal dump. Plastic sacks are not allowed in any of the bins with any of the recycling, regardless of which bin they put it in.
How about paper?
Paper bags are not specifically prohibited. But if they find a paper bag in there, we know who put the bag in there.
Okay,
I mean, you still have ways.
that's great. I
if
mean,
you
it's
find
just
it,
my
but
concern is there's such a volume in those bins that,
I don't think that there's a foolproof way. I'm not going to tell you that this will be 100% deterrent. If people are absolutely committed to dumping illegal garbage in here, I'm sure that there's folks that'll find a way to do it.
sure.
The only, I mean, the real message to the public is, we're working hard, we're fighting hard to get this reopened. We've heard a lot of complaints about not having this available to our citizens during hours when they can do it. Be respectful, use it appropriately. If it continues to be abused, it will go away for good. I mean, it'll disappear forever. And so that's the responsibility of the citizens to use it appropriately. The cameras are there to keep honest people honest, and the people that want to abuse it, we're going to try and deter that. But if we get overachievers and they decide they're going to, I mean, Waste Management will take it away, we'll have to take it away. We're trying to keep it open. It is a service, so,
Oh, it's a needed service.
right.
If there's no other comments, I would ask for a motion to close the hearing and receive and file oral and written comments.
So moved.
Motion by Callahan,
Second. That's right.
second by Variety, Kurtz. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion is carried. And that brings you down to whatever motion you want to make about your ordinance. Was
I
there an
make a motion
amendment?
to accept the revised edition of the dumping ordinance.
Okay. Motion
Second.
by Callahan, second by Kurtz. Roll call.
Kurtz,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes,
Hannah,
No,
Callahan,
Yes,
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Sharp.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Next on the agenda is the second reading for Bachman's request to purchase a property.
Did we put in here we could waive the third, or do we have to still do a third?
This does not have a waiver of the third reading.
Okay. I make a motion, we accept the second reading.
second it.
Motion by Hill, second by O'Loughlin. You know what the wording to the motion is and all?
Yeah, just approving the second reading of the
Oh, okay.
ordinance.
Okay.
Originally approved.
All righty, thank you. Roll call.
O'Loughlin,
Yes,
Hannah,
And this is with the reduced price, is that right? Yes.
Callahan?
Yes.
Hayward?
What reduced price?
The first reading set the price at 2,300 and,
2843?
no, that's based on the 318 a price. The price was, the motion was to set it at 263.
It was originally at 318, and then we decided to negotiate.
We went down 50 cents on that.
Yeah.
50 cents a square foot on that.
Okay. No.
Hill?
Yes.
Sharf?
Yes.
Kurtz?
Yes.
You have, what was your final? 5? We had enough?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Next on the agenda is resolution amending proposed resolution of necessity for the 2020 pavement rehabilitation program.
This resolution is only necessary if the council wants to modify the resolution of necessity for the special assessments on the 2020 street rehab project. If we are not modifying the special assessment or the scope of the special assessments, you would skip A, you would go to the original resolution of necessity, which is B. But we wanted to make sure you have that option after the discussion at the last meeting where we tabled this. Again, the resolution of necessity requires a 75% majority of the council vote to pass,
Which is
6 of 7.
6 of 7? Okay.
I'd like
Anybody?
just to bring forth to the public what we discussed as far as what would happen to our total project if we took out the Bland Boulevard section.
Well, we have,
We wouldn't be able to, would we?
well, it's not just the Bland Boulevard section, you also have the, under the same standard that you would use there, we also have the petition from 12th Street Northeast.
Right.
So you have 2 sections of the community for that petition. What's at risk under this is the DOT would allow us to move ahead with the project under federal funds because we're under the state swap agreement, which means that it falls back to the RTA. The RTA would have to have a public hearing yet this month to determine whether or not they were going to prorate our financial award or not. This is based on a fairly competitive process to receive federal funds in our region.
In all likelihood, we would either lose all or part of the federal funds.
I don't want to say we would lose it all. I mean, that is a risk. I don't think that's realistic. But we would definitely have a high risk of losing a prorated portion of our funds, yes.
That's
Yeah.
what, 295,000?
295,000 was what we're awarded on this project. Our special assessments, and, you know, Deb and I had this conversation this morning. The city has realistically about $70,000 into this above and beyond special assessments and federal dollars. You have an ag deferment, which is, if they ask for it, a portion of this land is ag land, and it is not currently anticipated to be developed in the near future. They've expressed an interest in that deferment. That doesn't come to us, that goes straight to the county. There's $26,000. The city has property involved in this, so we have our own portion to pay. You have nonprofits with the tourism and the state, the county fair board, which you have not traditionally assessed special assessments. They're the same people that are coming to the city asking for charitable donations each year anyway, so that doesn't make sense. But when you get all done, you've got, you know, $70,000 worth of special assessments that the city is taking on elsewhere. So there's a lot of players in this. I think the biggest concern is the federal dollars tied into paying for the majority of it.
I guess I Do we have to do anything with A? Can we just make the motion to go to B?
Yes, it is one or the other that you do.
I'd like to make the motion that we look at, that we pass the original resolution, letter B. And the basic reason that I look at that is we're heavily subsidizing this program already. We'll never get a better deal with the federal money that we're getting that grant. Secondly, that we're starting to do the assessments again so that we can do street projects. And if we don't do, if every time we have people that are not happy with the assessments, if we drop it, we're setting a precedent that's going to be difficult going forward. It's in the best interest of the whole city to fix these streets. We had some discussion about businesses using the streets, but we also have to remember businesses are paying a bigger tax load than a lot of private citizens are paying, so they're already paying a good deal of money to the city. And finally, we're looking here at a 10-year property tax assessment that they can pay it back on, or if they don't want to pay it at the percent we set, they can pay it off any time. So I think we are in dire need of street repairs. We've done a good job with our 5-year program. And so I think we pass it the resolution of necessity as we originally were looking at it before we tabled it last meeting.
I would second all that.
Motion by Hill, second by Hayward to approve resolution of necessity for the 2020 pavement rehabilitation project. Roll call, please.
Callahan,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Next on the agenda is a motion ordering the city clerk to file certified copies of the resolution of necessity and preliminary plat and schedule with the county treasurer of Buchanan County, and to approve a resolution ordering the preparation of the detailed plans and specifications, notice of hearing, notice of bidders, and form of contract.
So moved.
Motion by Hayward,
Second.
second by Callahan. Any discussion? If not, roll call.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Thank you, motion carried. Next on the agenda is a motion to approve a resolution to provide for a notice of public hearing on March 23rd, 2020 at 6:30 PM for the proposed plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated costs for the 2020 pavement rehabilitation project, and to delegate authority for the taking of bids therefore.
So moved.
Motion by Kurtz, second by O'Loughlin. No other discussion. I ask for a roll call, please.
Hill,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Hayward.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Next is a public hearing on proposed plan specification, form of contract, and estimated cost for the First Street Bridge rehabilitation project. I need a motion to receive and file proof of publication of notice of public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Callahan, second by Scharf. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Next, I need a motion to hold the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Callahan,
Second.
second by Scharf. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. We are now in public hearing in regards to First Street Bridge rehabilitation. Get any comments from anybody? City Clerk? Anyone in the audience want to speak on this particular thing since we're in public hearing?
Just so the public's aware, this is to repair the decking on the First Street Bridge and also set the time frame, hopefully, for when the work can be completed.
Brian Crawford, Crawford Engineering. Mike, the time frame that Mike alluded to is after the 4th of July celebrations. That was part of the specifications on the project that the contractor will not start any of the bridge rehabilitation work before the 4th of July.
And what's that gonna be, about 6 weeks, Brian?
They have until September 1st to complete that.
And are they gonna close it all off, do we know yet or not?
No, there'll be one-way westbound traffic that they will maintain at all times.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thanks, Brian.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to close the hearing and receive and file oral and written comments.
So moved.
Motion by Scharf, second by Callahan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Thank you. Next, I need a motion to approve a resolution finally approving and confirming plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the First Street Bridge Rehabilitation Program
So moved.
project. Motion by O'Loughlin,
Second.
second by Callahan. Roll call, please.
Sharf,
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hale.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Next, I have next is consideration of the bids for the First Street Bridge Rehabilitation Project.
So on February 27th, we did take bids for the project. There were 2 responsive bidders. The low bid is $212,681.25. That came from Jasper Construction out of Newton. And we recommend award to Jasper. This is a unit price contract, so you will only pay for the work that is completed.
This was a little bit higher than what we had thought, but you had commented that we might not end up spending as much money as they bid.
That's right. We took kind of a conservative approach when we put quantities together, in that everywhere where we identified there were deficiencies in the deck, we assumed that the contractor would have to go to that second level of deeper deck repair. And what we're hopeful of, and what we kind of are anticipating, is that when they do that first course of milling, which is at a much cheaper rate than the deeper jackhammering that will likely be required over some of it, that we will reduce that quantity of that deeper deck repair. And so there'll be some savings. That deeper deck repair amounts to about $64,000, roughly $64,000, I think, was the extension on that unit price. So there's a possibility that we would not find as much once we remove that first layer. And so there'd be less of that work to do, therefore you would spend less.
And what company did you say gave you that bid?
Jasper Construction,
Jasper?
Yep.
And give me the amount again, please.
$212,681.25.
Okay.
I'd make the motion, we approve the bid from Jasper.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Kurtz. Roll call, please.
Kurtz,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hale,
Yes.
Sharf.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Resolutions. Resolution to assess property owners for Chapter 136 regulations failure to comply.
I'd make the motion.
Second.
Motion by Kurtz, second by Callahan. All those in favor, oh no, roll call, sorry.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hale,
Yes.
Sharf,
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Next is fiscal year 2021 budget. A motion to approve the resolution setting the fiscal year 2021 budget, CIP, and transfers.
So moved.
Motion by Callahan,
Second.
second by Hill. Any discussion?
This will be at what tax rate, Al?
16, I just had that up.
0.4.
1.17, wasn't it?
16.60123.
Oh, it's 60.
Okay.
Which that is an increase from last year,
Yes.
but could have been a lot worse if the department heads and City Hall hadn't done some dramatic cutting.
Yeah, I'd like to personally thank all department heads and the City Hall for their hard work in this, because it was a lot of hard work.
Nice team effort,
Yep.
everybody. I ask for a roll call, please.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes,
Hale,
Yes,
Shar,
Yes.
Kurtz,
Yes.
McLaughlin.
Yes.
Thank you, motion is carried. Next is Sixth Avenue streetlights. A motion to approve the city independence match for this Briar Grove, oh no, that's a different, that's next thing, okay. 6 to 8, okay, next page. Motion to approve or disapprove request for streetlights on Sixth Avenue Southwest from Lovers Lane to Enterprise Drive Southwest.
This was discussed at the Committee of the Whole. There was a question asked about the wood poles versus the aluminum metal poles. The difference is $185 for the wood pole, $565 for the metal. There was a question about Sixth Avenue going from Lovers Lane to Bland Boulevard. There are streetlights on that stretch. They are the 30-foot poles, so they're taller. It is not daylight down there, but they do suffice as the streetlights are in place. If you drive the Sixth Avenue from Lovers Lane to Enterprise Drive, there is one, I don't know if you call it a street light, it's a decorative light just north of Mitchell Avenue. It's got a yellow light on it versus the LED white lights that we see on the streetlights. The other thing that more decorative in nature, I think, is each entrance into Cardinal Court, Pines, what have you. They've got the lamp posts on the entrances there. They're not really a street light, but there are lights on each of those entrances going in. Again, not a street light, it's more decorative in nature.
Which side are we looking to put them in on, the east side or west side?
We had discussed the west side for the streetlights. Again, using a standard residential street format, if you will. Independence Light and Power, no magic to it. They just put 175-foot distance on each one. It would take approximately 10 lamps to do that as you would any residential street. They are providing $7,587 of in-kind labor if you choose to do it. I know that there was some reluctance at the Committee of the Whole, but again, we had not voted on it, and this is just, because it is a citizen request, I felt it was important to address it formally.
This is REC. Have they approached REC about putting them out there?
No. It is in the city limits. It's the city that's responsible, regardless of who puts it in, the city's still responsible. It's a city street, it's inside city limits.
So we'd have to pay REC for the.
We're going to pay for this regardless of who puts it in, because it's a city street.
I mean, we don't have this money in our budget right now.
No.
Was it somebody looking, or I think Carl asked for a comparison in price between the wooden poles versus the metal?
That's the 185 versus the 565
Okay.
for the wood to metal.
and then in their $15,000 project cost, they have it figured based on the 565 per pole.
That's correct.
So it would actually be
1850.
You would,
a couple, $3,000 less than that.
in round numbers, it could be about 3,000 less.
Now, by going on the west side, it won't interfere with our trail plans going down from Enterprise down to Bland Boulevard, correct?
Correct.
We aren't gonna have to move poles.
That's correct.
Okay.
The trail has been planned, earmarked, basically set up for the east side of Sixth Avenue. And again, we're not trying to sell you on this or change your mind, but again, being a citizen request, it should take council action on it one way or the other. This is not a budgeted expense, to Deb's comment. It's not something that we built into our budget. If you decide to do it, we'll have to go do some figuring on how we're going to pay for it. I don't want to say it can't be done, but it is not a line item in the budget.
And I do realize that there's a large difference between the wood poles and the metal ones, but for aesthetic purposes, and with those entrances into those two locations, and they're not wood, they are metal, I'm not sure what it's going to look or how it's going to present that area to put up wooden poles in that particular area that gets traveled like how many thousands of people on a daily basis that we had numbers for, and what that says for the city to put up wooden poles when everyone else or every other place are metal poles.
That's fine, but we're talking almost $4,000, $3,850, and we don't even have it in the budget. So I'm just saying, we need to hold on,
I would,
just hold on. You know, them wooden poles will last a long, long, long time. I got one in front of my house, been there for 60 years. If people are gonna judge us by our poles, we have a problem. We really have a problem. We're trying to be, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
No, go ahead. We're trying to save the people money, and yet we turn around and go, oh, no big deal. It is a big deal. And I'm sorry, that's just my opinion.
I think, since this is not even in the budget, I think we keep this information and make a decision next year when we're doing our budget, whether we can put that in our CIP maybe, and that way we're planning for it, and we can discuss polls and all that sort of thing at that time, and
I agree with
maybe
you.
we have a windfall. Maybe our speed cameras will generate enough funds we can pay.
The last thing that I did fail to mention is there is a street light at the corner of Sixth Avenue and Enterprise.
Yeah.
It actually sits on Enterprise, but it is right at that intersection.
Which was what the person had maybe brought this up for one there anyway.
Well, that was kind of alluded to in the request, but while it is dark, you know, Kevin did say that if we want it daylight out there, they can do it. They'll be a little closer than 175 feet apart, but I think it's wise to take a look at this as a budgetary item. I think that Independence Light and Power has been good to work with us. I don't suspect that they would stop. But again, I do want to honor the citizen request and make sure that we're being formal in how we address it.
I drive it every day. I live out there like Bonnie does, and I don't see it as a public safety hazard the way it is right now. I mean, there's enough light. There's lights that are probably 25 to 30 feet off on all the entrances, you know, down there.
We will definitely want to address that if we're going to be doing a trail out there, because you wouldn't want to be walking after dark
Right.
with the situation as it is right now.
Sure.
But since the trail, it hasn't even been put into grant right, I mean, we haven't initiated that, we could maybe hold this off until the following budget.
My sister walks out there and she would dispute your assessment.
No, I didn't say for walkers, but I wouldn't
Yeah.
walk that. And
It's not, I wouldn't want to walk in the dark out there
No.
where these lights are not at.
She walks pretty early in the morning and it's dark.
Yeah, but at the same time, I really have a hard time putting on wooden poles in that area for the fact that it's two brand-new housing development areas, and there's metal poles everywhere else. And then all of a sudden, just because of the amount of money, if we can't afford it now, then we should wait rather than putting in wooden poles for it. So that's just
We
Make a
just
motion
let-
to
just my
table it.
appointment.
Yeah.
Huh?
Can we
Make a
just
motion,
let this
we
die
table.
for not making a motion?
As I say, if you just don't make a motion and stuff, I don't know that we
Let it
even need to
die.
table, because if you
Yeah.
table it, it has to be brought up the next meeting.
Right.
Again, and I don't think you're gonna have any difference of opinion in 2 weeks, so. I think if you just don't make a motion, we just go on to the next item on the agenda. So. Hearing nothing, we'll go on to other business of a motion to approve the City of Independence match for the Spar Grove Catalyst Grant Match. Catalyst?
Catalyst grant.
Catalyst Grant Match. This is the one of where Hardick Drug is, that corner, and the apartments and stuff that they're looking at.
Just so we're all on the same page, I did update the budget. George Lake had sent me an updated budget figure. bottom line is it's still a $722,000 project total. Dominic Spargrove has done a fantastic job of reaching out and finding funds in about every nook and cranny that there is that would work with this, with the brownfields, with the historic tax credits. The Catalyst Grant is a key component to this. In looking for a way that the city can say yes to it, we proposed a $50,000 TIF contribution. TIF is an eligible expense for this on an economic development grant. We also have a $15,000 commercial restoration and rehab grant, which is in our books for the downtown, still TIF dollars, and a $35,000 in-kind contribution for 7 dedicated parking spaces in the lot north of Hardy Drug.
So that's our $100,000.
That's our $100,000.
That meets our criteria for what we need to.
Correct.
I think this is terrific that we get a chance to spur something on down there.
To be a part of it.
Hopefully set up
Absolutely.
incentive for other people to do the same thing. And be a very high visibility project.
Catalyst is the right word, hopefully.
Yeah.
I would make the motion to approve the match.
Okay, motion by Kurt, second by Hayward. Do you need a roll call on this? Okay.
Hayward,
Yes.
Hale,
Yes.
Scharf,
No,
Kurtz,
Yes.
O'Loughlin,
Yes.
Hannah,
Yes.
Callahan.
Yes.
Thank you, motion is carried. Next, we're down to reports. I see 2 department heads here. Fire doesn't have anything. Police department have anything they'd like to discuss?
Just a few things. To let know what our department's up, what we've been up to.
Can you
Officer
speak
Ort-
up just a little?
Sorry.
I can't
Get
wear
a
my, I
microphone.
can't wear my hearing aids, I'm sorry.
Sorry about that. Our department over the last couple of weeks and in the weeks coming to be, we have stuff that's been going on. Last week, Officer Ort tested for the academy and he passed everything, so he'll be starting the academy next Monday. Be his first day. He'll be at Hawkeye Community College Academy, so he'll be just traveling back and forth, so you'll still see him around town. Officer Cornwell has decided she wanted to take on the DARE officer position that we have open. I'm working on all the paperwork now. I've spoken with Mr. Ryder at the superintendent for the community school, and he's on board, so we're going to get that up and going. Her training, I believe, is in May. Officer Cass, Officer Isaac just went over to actually Chicago to go to TASER certification school. There are TASER's instructors. Their certification for TASER is sporadic. You don't know where it's going to be, and you find the closest one you can. There's happened the closest one in this time that we needed. It happens to be in Chicago, so last week they went over to Chicago and got certified. Today, Officer Ort and Officer McFerrin went to Full Circle Dayhab Center to have breakfast with clients for Full Circle this morning. And then the other thing I wanted to bring out was with this warm weather, I saw a lot of people bicycling, walking, running. So make sure that we pay attention, share the road with the people that are out there. Always look twice before you take off from an intersection. You never know when somebody's going to pop out from somewhere. Also heard motorcyclists out, so it's always a good idea to keep an eye out for them too. So, thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Ted.
Before I'm going to let the council, oh, no, I got 2 other department heads, don't I? I keep forgetting you 2, you're too close. Gina, do you have anything?
Nope, we'll just get the budget submitted to the county for you.
Okay. Al, do you have anything?
I don't have anything.
Okay, so I didn't forget you. I just want to do a shout out. I monthly go on a shopping trip at Walmart with the residents from Lexington Place, and today my person I went with was in a wheelchair. Her name is Mabel. Had a great time with her. She has a fantastic laugh, because we seemed to laugh through the whole store. She did not believe I was mayor, and I had to convince her and find somebody to witness for me. Temporarily, because she was having so much fun, I made her the mayor pro tem temporarily while we were at Walmart. I said, Bob, I don't think Bob Hill will mind. So, but she said she was going to watch us on television tonight, didn't even realize we were on TV. She was hoping, so I wanted to give a shout out to Mabel and tell her that hopefully next month we'll get a chance to have fun again. So,
Were you
now,
able to keep up with her?
she was in a wheelchair, I was pushing her. We spent $30 on one bag of cough drops, and the rest of it was candy.
She took her
So-
life in her own hands, didn't she?
Yeah, she did, yeah. And I had to put my cane in her pouch behind her, in her wheelchair, so she reminded me not to to remember to take it out, so I took it out and it snapped open. And I see, it's even royal because it's purple, and she couldn't stop giggling on that one. I mean, we had so much fun. It's a volunteer thing I do, and I've done it for several years, and it's always have a good day like that. So any of you ever want to volunteer to shop at Walmart, just let me know and we'll sign you up, so. Now, if, what?
It's a list, you gonna do my walk. I try not to shop any more than I have to.
I don't get any shopping done, but they have fun, so it really is a great time. Anyone of the council want to start? If anybody has any comments they'd like to make, or?
Well, I'd like to make one. I just want people to know why I voted no on that catalytic thing. I have no problem with progress. What I don't understand is, I just talked to Mark Tarpey today. Economic never talked to him, Chamber never talked to him, not just them, he had a meeting with the Mexican restaurant next door. Them 7 valuable parking was very valuable to them. In their rush hour, their whatever. I guess that's what I'm upset about. And I know there's supposed to be all their off-site parking, but you know, if they're gonna have 7 cars, there's gonna have 10. And
You may
they're,
work all day, though.
they're gonna be in that parking lot.
It's just gonna be young people that live up there.
You don't know that. You can't just.
You gonna walk the steps?
Well, you don't know that. Some people might, but you can't just count on that. I'm just saying, but they're still gonna park. They're still gonna take up these guys' spaces. And that, I just want the people to know that. I don't have no problem with progress. Just listen to the people. Go talk to them. My peer people, they went and talked to all these people. Go talk to them. That's all I got. Thank you.
Anybody else? If nobody has anything to say, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Scharf, second by Callahan. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried.